A courtroom showdown with billions on the line. But behind the headlines, accusations of corruption, secret alliances, and one crypto giant at war with the SEC. This wasn't regulation, this was the secret war between XRP and the SEC. On December 22, 2020, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission filed a bombshell lawsuit against Ripple Labs, alleging that XRP was an unregistered security. The timing couldn't have been more precise or more suspicious. Just days before the holidays, when legal teams would be thin and media attention low, the SEC struck. Within hours, major crypto exchanges began delisting XRP, triggering mass panic. $15 billion in market value vanished almost overnight. But it wasn't just the price crash that raised eyebrows. It was the framing. Unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, XRP was suddenly being painted as an outlaw asset. Investors felt blindsided. Ripple executives saw it differently. This wasn't regulatory housekeeping. It was a hit job, a strategic takedown disguised as enforcement. In that moment, what began as a lawsuit instantly escalated into something bigger, like a high-stakes war between the old financial guard and a rising crypto power that refused to kneel. But Ripple wasn't retreating. They were quietly assembling a defense few saw coming. While the public saw Ripple stumbling behind the scenes, they were strategizing on overdrive. The company immediately retained top-tier law firms, including those staffed by former SEC insiders who understood the agency's every move. Discovery requests began flying. Ripple's legal team demanded transparency in internal SEC communications, meeting records, and especially documents related to Ethereum's regulatory treatment. That's when things got murky. Leaked emails and court filings hinted at double standards. Why was Ethereum greenlit while XRP was crucified? And Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple's CEO, didn't mince words. He stepped forward with a fiery statement saying, "This is an attack on crypto, not just Ripple." It wasn't just a defense strategy. It was counter-offensive intelligence gathering. Ripple wasn't just fighting to survive. They were building a case that this lawsuit was politically motivated, selectively enforced, and meant to cripple one of crypto's most disruptive players. But the deeper Ripple dug, the more suspicious the SEC's timing looked. Just days before suing Ripple, the SEC had quietly declared Ethereum not a security. The statement came from William Hinman, the agency's director of corporation finance, who later took heat for his ties to a firm that profited heavily from Ethereum. The crypto world took notice and asked, why was Ethereum cleared, while XRP was ambushed? The timing felt strategic as documents revealed Hinman's former law firm had deep connections to Ethereum-related projects. Ripple's lawyers pounced, arguing the SEC wasn't applying the law evenly and that it was picking winners. XRP's collapse didn't just hurt Ripple, it cleared a path for Ethereum to dominate. To XRP investors, this wasn't about protecting the public, it was a betrayal, a conflict of interest that suggested something more than policy at play, and for the first time, the battle felt personal. Ripple was not struggling for more than just clarity as they were tried to expose what they now saw as regulatory corruption. But Ripple wasn't the only one fighting. An entire army was rising behind them. As the SEC tightened its grip, something unprecedented happened. Over 70,000 XRP holders stepped into the legal battlefield, not to sue Ripple, but to defend it. Led by attorney John Deaton, this grassroots movement argued the SEC had harmed investors far more than Ripple ever had. These weren't billionaires or executives, these were everyday people, demanding a voice in a fight that threatened their financial future. The courtroom began to shift as Judge Annalisa Torres started pressing the SEC for answers, pointing out contradictions in their arguments. Why did the agency wait so long? Why target XRP, but not Ethereum? And just like that, this wasn't just a legal case anymore. It was now a referendum on crypto in America. If Ripple lost, what did that mean for Coinbase? For stablecoins? For innovation? What seemed like Ripple versus the SEC so far was crypto versus the state now, and the whole world was watching. But just when the SEC tightened its grip, the ground crumbled beneath them. In a stunning July 2023 ruling, Judge Torres declared that XRP is not a security, at least when sold on public exchanges. It wasn't a full victory, but it was enough to shake the entire crypto world. Within minutes, major platforms began relisting XRP. Within hours, its price doubled. Crypto Twitter exploded as Ripple celebrated the win, but the mood was cautious. The court also found Ripple had violated securities laws in its institutional sales, giving the SEC a partial lifeline, and they took it. Days later, the commission filed a motion to appeal, signaling this war was far from over. Still, the damage was done, and the SEC's once iron grip on crypto regulation had cracked, and Ripple had exposed real inconsistencies. If you think Ripple's win ends this war, think again. Subscribe and comment to see the next breakdown on Ethereum's own SEC shadow fight. Now let's see why Ripple's win didn't just make headlines but triggered a political aftershock. The courtroom verdict rippled far beyond XRP. Suddenly, the SEC's credibility was under fire, not just from crypto advocates, but from Capitol Hill. Lawmakers began questioning the agency's selective enforcement. In heated congressional hearings, Chair Gary Gensler struggled to defend why XRP was targeted while similar tokens were not. His answers felt vague and evasive, almost rehearsed. Ripple's partial win became a precedent, quietly empowering legal defenses for giants like Coinbase and Binance, both facing their own SEC battles. The crypto world sensed a shift. Maybe for the first time, the regulator wasn't untouchable. Investors felt a surge of hope, but it was cautious. Because with embarrassment comes retaliation, and rumors began swirling of a regulatory crackdown far harsher than before, an effort to reassert control over an industry growing too powerful, too fast. The war had reached Washington, and now the fight was fully political. While regulators circled in the US, Ripple was quietly building elsewhere, and much bigger. As the US battle dragged on, Ripple was already playing a global game. With its name cleared, at least partially, Ripple shifted focus toward expansion. In Japan, the UAE, and the UK, the company began forging quiet partnerships with financial giants and even central banks. Leaked reports revealed closed-door meetings to integrate RippleNet into future CBDC, central bank digital currency infrastructure. The same company once labeled a regulatory rebel was now being embraced by institutions Ripple once fought against. To some, this looked like evolution, a crypto outlaw becoming the system. To others, it was strategic camouflage. Was Ripple turning compliant to survive or positioning itself for round two on an even larger, more global battlefield? Whatever the answer, one thing was clear. Ripple wasn't just defending its place in crypto, it was redrawing the map of global finance, with or without US approval. But here's the thing. Beneath every lawsuit, leak, and headline, something even bigger was brewing. You see, this was never just about XRP. It was about control over whole markets, over innovation, and literally the future of money. The SEC tried to make Ripple an example, a warning shot to the entire crypto industry. And Ripple didn't collapse in doing so. It countered with strategy, scale, and secrets the public wasn't supposed to see. They exposed cracks in the system. They forced uncomfortable questions into the light. And while doing that, Ripple became something no one predicted, a symbol of resistance, even for those who never held a single XRP coin. And now, every move Ripple makes is watched by regulators, by governments, and by rival crypto giants. Because if they can win, anyone might. Although one question still lingers in the silence. Was Ripple defending the future of finance or trying to control it themselves? Let us know what you think.